Israel has estimated some 100 to 100 people are being held in Gaza as it continues to bomb the Gaza Strip after hitting 200 targets overnight. Meanwhile, Hamas has said it won't negotiate on the hostages it has taken from Israel until what it calls the end of the battle. Amid the continuing war, international humanitarian organizations have called for opening a humanitarian corridor. Good evening, I'm Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. The Parliamentary Subcommittee formed to finalize the Transitional Justice Bill submits its report without reaching a consensus on several major issues. The Foreign Relations Committee of the Parliament directs the government to immediately bring the bodies of the 10 Nepali nationals killed in Israel amid war with Hamas. Israel says it has secured its border with Gaza 3 days after Hamas attack. Army says body of 1,500 recovered as Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip continues. And Karate's Erika Gurung and women's kabaddi team that won medals at the Asian Games in China returned home to a grand welcome. The Parliamentary Subcommittee formed to finalize the Transitional Justice Bill has submitted its report without reaching a consensus on several key issues. The meeting of the subcommittee under the Law, Justice and Human Rights Committee of the Parliament submitted its report by adding a few provisions while saying that 4 major issues needed further deliberations. The subcommittee report states a decision was still to be made regarding which among 2 killings that took place during the conflict era, including torturous murders or killings that took place other than during clashes among the 2 sides, should be categorized as serious violation of human rights. The subcommittee was unable to decide also on the steps to be taken to address the issues of those affected during the armed conflict and the measures that should be taken if victims of human rights violations did not agree for reconciliation. Regarding reducing sentences, the subcommittee also failed to find a consensus on whether to disclose the reason for it. Meanwhile, an agreement has been reached for the Chief Justice to allocate joint benches of justices from the list of justices at the Supreme Court to hear cases of appeal. Likewise, victims of sexual violence during the conflict period can also file complaints. A 3-month notice is to be issued for any victim of rape or serious sexual violations or their representatives to file the cases. The Foreign Relations Committee of the Parliament has directed the government to bring the bodies of 10 Nepali nationals that have been killed in Israel in the ongoing attack by Hamas militants at the earliest. The meeting of the committee held earlier today directed the government to bring in the bodies, make arrangements for the treatment of injured Nepali nationals in Israel, and make efforts to search and rescue those who have been stranded in the war-torn region. Likewise, the committee has directed the Office of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to make arrangements for immediate evacuation of Nepali nationals from Israel. During the meeting, Minister for Foreign Affairs NP South urged everyone not to visit Israel for political reasons or popularity amid the ongoing war. Minister Saud said that efforts are underway to bring the bodies of those who have been killed and that the government has been waiting for permit to send a chartered flight to Israel for the evacuation of citizens that have remained stranded. During the meeting, lawmakers suggested the government to clarify its stance on sending Nepali rescuers to areas that pose threat. Saying that it is unlikely for the war in Israel to settle anytime soon, they urged the government to prepare a concrete plan for the safe return or to ensure the safety of those who have been stranded. Lawmakers criticized the Nepali embassy in Tel Aviv for its lackluster approach in helping those who are in difficulty. A day of national mourning is being observed today for the death of 10 Nepali nationals in Israel by Palestinian militants Hamas. Yesterday's meeting of the Council of Ministers had announced National Mourning Day in the honor of the death of 10 Nepali nationals in war-torn Israel. The national flag have been lowered to half-mast at all government offices, Nepalese embassies in foreign countries and other entities related to foreign affairs today. 10 Nepali students had been killed in Kibbutz Almuim of Israel in the attack by Palestinian militants Hamas on the 27th of September. The meeting has decided to provide 1 million rupees to each of the family of those who have been killed in the attack. The government has begun legworks to bring the bodies of those who have been killed. In the meantime, the government has geared up to send the aircrafts of national flag carrier Nepal Airlines and Himalaya Airlines to evacuate Nepali nationals that are in Israel for education, among other purposes. The government is said to bear all the expenses to return citizens who have been stranded in the country. Likewise, 49 Nepali nationals have been rescued by Israeli army from the war-torn southern area of Estot Negev and have been shifted to a safer location. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has said that there are 4,500 Nepali nationals that have been working as caregivers and 265 students at the moment in Israel. Meanwhile, the government has urged 24 people that have completed visa process for Israel to refrain from visiting the country at the moment. Nepali Congress is preparing to take initiatives for the formation of new government in Koshi province under its leadership. The meeting of senior leaders held at the party president Sher Bahadur Dewa's residence decided to take initiatives for the formation of province government under the leadership of the party as per the agreement reached earlier by the ruling alliance. The meeting has decided to hold dialogues with other political parties as well for the government formation. Leaders have said that the meeting held discussion on the upcoming Mahasamiti meeting in the Nepali month of Mangsir. Meanwhile, the parliamentary party meeting of Nepali Congress held earlier today has decided to demand with the government immediate rescue of Nepali nationals who want to return home. Likewise, Congress has demanded to bring home the bodies of 10 Nepali nationals that have been killed in Israel at the earliest. The Bagmati Provincial Assembly has endorsed 2 bills with majority. The meeting of the Provincial Assembly held yesterday evening endorsed the Second Amendment Bill related to Bagmati Province Communications Media Management Act 2080 with majority. Likewise, the Province Assembly has also endorsed the bill related to the Management of Language of Administrative Works of the Province 2080 with majority. The government has announced it will fully implement the plan to distribute Social Security allowance through banking system from the ongoing fiscal year. 3.8 million beneficiaries at all 753 local levels across the country will now receive their Social Security allowances through banking system. This will be done in 3 phases. The decision, however, was first taken back in November 2020. According to the Department of National ID and Civil Registration, the decision was taken following grievances that the Social Security allowances distribution had lacked transparency and were full of administrative hassles. Beneficiaries will now receive their allowances through their own bank accounts, and the distribution will take place at all local levels in 3 phases. Respective district funds and accounts controller's office will be responsible for transferring the amount to the beneficiaries. A report by the Public Accounts Committee and the Office of the Auditor General had recommended for the implementation of banking transaction, highlighting on irregularities in distribution otherwise. However, many local levels had not been able to implement the government decision due to lack of access to banking systems. Beneficiaries have been receiving their allowances in cash, and most of the details had not been integrated. Around 115 billion rupees is distributed from the state coffers annually for Social Security allowances, which benefits senior citizens, single women, people from the marginalized communities, financially weak, disabled, and those who cannot take care of themselves. A 14-year-old boy identified as Shiva Prasad Dahal has died after being attacked by a wild elephant in Haripur of Sarlahi, while another individual has been injured. Dahal had gone to collect fodder in the forest along with 51-year-old Chabilal Kafle of Hariban Municipality. Deputy Superintendent of Police Dipendra Panjiar has said that Dahal had died on the spot. Kafle has sustained serious injuries in his legs and is being treated at Namuna Hospital in Hariban. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what do you term no addition of human resources in the health sector? Your options are A, irresponsible government, B, lack of coordination, and C, no additional requirement. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. Hospitals overwhelmed as the Israeli army continues bombardment of the Gaza Strip 4 days after Hamas's unprecedented attack in Israel. Palestinian Health Ministry, the WHO called for humanitarian corridor to ensure the entry of urgent medical aid into Gaza's hospital. Israel announced a total blockade on Gaza, including a ban on admitting food and fuel. Such a siege with the intent to starve a population is a war crime under UN statutes. The latest death toll stands at 770 Palestinians in Gaza and more than 900 people in Israel. Hamas's surprise attack on Saturday came after Israeli settlers stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in recent days, and a record number of Palestinians were killed by Israel in recent months. Meanwhile, Hamas has said that it won't negotiate on the hostages it has taken from Israel until the end of the battle. Between 100 and 150 people are being held in Gaza, Israel estimates. Israel says it is continuing to bomb the Gaza Strip after hitting 200 targets overnight. A BBC reporter in Gaza said it was the worst bombing he had seen in 20 years, with neighborhoods flattened. The United Nations Humanitarian Office has said that nearly 200,000 people, or nearly a tenth of the population, have fled their homes in Gaza since the start of hostilities, and is poised for shortages of water and electricity due to a blockade. Israeli air operations have struck residential buildings, including large tower blocks, as well as schools and UN buildings across Gaza, resulting in civilian casualties, the United Nations Human Rights Chief said, citing information gathered by his office. A World Health Organization spokesperson said it had reported 13 attacks on health facilities in the Gaza Strip since the weekend, and said its medical supplies stored there had already been used up. In response to Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant's announcement of a tightened blockade for the Gaza Strip, Volker Turk said that seizures that endanger the lives of civilians are prohibited under international law. Streets in southern Lebanon were almost empty this morning, with schools and many shops closed and only few vehicles driving. Israeli shelling on Lebanon killed at least 3 Hezbollah militants yesterday, and Israel said one of its officers was killed during an earlier cross-border raid claimed by Palestinians in Lebanon. The cross-border violence marked a significant expansion of a conflict between Israel and Palestinian militants in Gaza to the Israeli-Lebanese border further north. Iran-backed Hezbollah and Israel fought a brutal month-long war in 2006. Hezbollah and Israel have traded sporadic fire over the border since 2006 while avoiding a major conflict. They exchanged artillery and rocket fire on Sunday. Some residents of southern Lebanon said they were leaving homes along the border with Israel on Monday amid heavy shelling that had pounded the outskirts of towns and villages. A series of incidents over the past months had already elevated the risk of escalation along the Lebanon-Israel border before the fighting erupted in Israel and Gaza. Police secured a plaza in Gainesville, Florida yesterday after a misunderstanding led to panic, causing university students holding a candlelit vigil in support of Israel to flee, according to university officials. Several students were injured in the chaos, although the number is unclear. Some media outlets reported a number of injured as low as 5, while others reported some 30 injuries. The source of the panic is unclear. According to University of Florida campus police, some in the crowd either fainted or fell, causing bystanders to shout 911. However, other accounts said attendees heard an unidentified loud noise that some interpreted as gunshots. Police confirmed that there was no active shooter. As chaos ensued, students fled, causing many to fall and trip over each other. According to university officials, some 1,000 people attended the vigil. Karate's Erika Gurung and the women's kabaddi team, who won medals at the Asian Games in China, have returned home. They received a grand welcome upon landing at the Tribhuvan International Airport. Erika had bagged an historic silver medal for Nepal, having lost the final match for the above 68 kilograms category to Kazakhstan's Sofia Berulatseva. With the medal, Erika also became the only third player to bag a silver at the Asian Games, while it was the country's first silver in karate. Prior to this, Sabita Raj Bhandari had bagged a silver medal in Taekwondo at the 13th Asian Games held in Bangkok back in 1998. Meanwhile, the women's kabaddi team won a bronze at the debut tournament. The winning athletes were taken to the National Sports Council from the airport and felicitated. 253 Nepali athletes had participated at the Asian Games in Hangzhou, China, across 29 sporting events. Nepal have yet to bag a gold medal at the tournament. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.